Who doesn't need a quick laugh to go along with some food for thought? Hello, I'm Dan Hill, the host of Scrambled Eggs, Tips and Tactics for Tackling Tough Business Problems. With me today is my guest, Rico Paul Vallejo. He's an award-winning writer, translator, transcreator, and copy editor of advertising and poetry in English and Spanish alike. So Rico, you have been one of the most prolific contributors to blah, 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 and I want to turn this over to you. Would you please go ahead and read a few of the terms you submitted and maybe tell us a bit about what was your inspiration for them?
Sure, Dan. I'm on to turn to page 14, and the description is epic. The comment is the description, the definition of epic. How to describe your manager's latest presentation if you're seeking a promotion. And not only if you're seeking the promotion, I've seen this all my life. I worked in offices since I was a teenager. As a teenager, I worked in Buenos Aires, Argentina, the place I was born. I worked at a publishing house, and I've seen this the rest of my life. I've always worked in an office. I never changed careers, always been a writer, translator, transcreator. And in this publishing house, the publisher had a really firm control of the whole organization. And I was a courier boy. I was just helping out, typing. And I saw many editors and art directors and other publishing professionals, the classic roles of a nice, small but nicely put together publishing house. And it's actually a quite wonderful publishing house. It's no longer in existence, but it did it's a story, and people know it. It made a piece of history in Argentine editorial history and world.
Sure.
When the president, and I would see him walking around, I was never in his office to listen what's going on, but I was with him in social settings and also in the office, around the office. He had the lamest jokes, really lame. And I knew these art directors and editorial publishers and copy editors and editorial assistants, people who were moving up in the publishing house. They were smart, they were witty. I loved overhearing their conversations, and I was part of it. Sometimes they would tease me, I would try to tease back, but they're really witty.
Yeah.
Then you have the big guy who would tell the lamest jokes. I go, oh, that's lame. And he's the president, but he's good. He was good at what he did. He got great authors. We did a lot of novel things in Argentine publishing, but his jokes were always lame. And I remember the first time when he says something, and then I see these very witty, smart copy editors, art directors laugh like doubling over. It's like, and I go, that wasn't funny. What are you laughing at? And then I saw this as a pattern. It's like, oh, yeah, maybe survival. Maybe if you don't celebrate the boss's bad jokes, you're out of here, or you go down on the preference, or whatever. So, you want the promotion, or you just want to survive, or you want. So anyway, I've seen that, and over the years, I've seen that time and again.
Sure.
And so if I have a word for top executives, take people's enjoyment of your jokes with a grain of salt, because some of them suck.
Yeah, quite honestly. And what's at least another one or two, because you had so many great contributions.
Oh, thank you. The second one is on page 41. The definition of The Office, the movie set for a dystopian film. And, there are so many jokes, and you mentioned Dilbert, and you mentioned The Office, the TV show. The Office in many ways is like a highway. You are with people there, you are sharing a stretch of highway, they're driving with you, sharing the highway with you. You don't know who they are, although, of course, in an office, you get to know some people a little better, but sometimes you don't know them any better than seeing them passing you, or you pass them, or whatever. The definition of the experience in the highway is that everybody driving slower than you is a horrible damn driver. Everybody driving faster than you is a crazy driver, insane, they want to cause an accident. You are the only one going at the right speed. And that is, so I've heard this many times. People that I know, people that, like I said, I worked in offices all my life. I was a typist as a teenager. I was typing in French, Italian, English, Spanish. And the self-assessment of many people, you will see them in a social context. And there's one person that works in the office. And the typical self-perception is, I'm the only one doing something really significant there. If I weren't there, the whole thing goes down the drain, And I actually have seen people who are in leadership positions think that. Think of the movie with Jack Nicholson about Schmidt. Yes. He works for Mutual of Omaha. He's an actuarial sciences guy, underwriter, whatever. He leaves and he works a whole week, leaving everything tracked, in boxes for the people that, the younger people that work with him, to make sure that the work is done right and they finish what he started, all these projects. He thought it was so important. And when the young guy comes in and says, okay, hell, you're leaving. Oh, last day. Yeah, let's do a party. Yeah, but I need to give you this because this is so, oh yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, no problem. And later on in the movie, he sees those very boxes unopened with all the Post-it notes and marks that he did in some storage area ready to be recycled.
Yeah.
And so he thought, oh, no, they need to know. These young people, I don't know if they're going to keep it up. I've seen this in real life here in Minneapolis. I won't say who or what, but this, most of my life I worked for the large companies in Minneapolis, the Fortune 100 headquartered in Minnesota. That's most of my work life. And I've seen that people who retired and then they call a week later. So how's everything in the office? Because all these young people and the old guy retired. Everything okay? Yeah. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, everything is fine. Call a week later. Hey, do you need me any help? Shall I come over? No. Hey, enjoy your retirement. Enjoy the golf course. Whatever. About a month later or two, the guy shows up at the office. And he looks around, and these young people changed a lot of things for the better. But, he just couldn't believe it. People think that we think we are indispensable. We think we are the ones who are holding this office together. Not the case.
Yeah.
So,
well,
anyway.
it is so true. We spend so many hours with people who are semi-strangers, if not outright adversaries. We know nothing about their backstory, their values, their motivation. It's a terrible shame. I mean, it could make it a much better environment if only. Yeah.
I have been in toxic work environments, even in the last 10 years here in Minneapolis. But I've also been and am in wonderful work groups where people are real and you get to know each other and you can joke and you can understand and appreciate and respect the differences. So I think it's not across the board. There are great places to work and great work environments. But we still have the toxic work environments out there, sadly, in unexpected places. You think that a place connected to, say, spirituality, oh, it'd be great to work there. The yoga culture, there's so many other subcultures that you think, oh, it'll be so great, yeah. And then you have the worst political backstabbing that you can ever imagine. And ego, talk about ego. So anyway, yeah.
There's no guarantees. Maybe one more, and then I'd like to switch to a book that's been important to you in your thinking about business. But maybe one more definition from the book, if you will.
Okay, page 42. The chapter or the section always needs to be right, and this is the definition of informed decision. A boss's gut feelings, further evidence that the biggest lies in life are the ones we tell ourselves. Well, the boss gut feeling, gut instinct. I've seen this in several ways, and I can tell you stories about international marketing clients as well as domestic. One story from the domestic side is fast talking, fast walking type A
Yeah.
who pivots to the next meeting. That's his main thing. He pivots all the time, and doing everything very professionally sounding, explaining to a whole group, we're going to do research because we believe that, and then the belief. And so this is a classic example of confirmation bias. We know that there is a market for blah, 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 this specific segment. So this fall, we're going to do research. And so this is the plan. And he had a whole timeline. This fall, we're doing the research. In the winter, we'll analyze and get the research. We'll have found out that there is a market for this, and we'll confirm, and then we'll work on the strategy, and we'll execute this marketing program in the spring. And it's not only marketing, a whole program targeting this audience that we will have confirmed that is a great opportunity for us during the research we're about to start this fall. Yeah. And so talk about, it was a classic example of confirmation bias. And these are smart people with MBAs and so on. Didn't even realize that. And some people call that to their attention and they go, oh, I got a point there.
I had just started my market research company, and I talked to a woman who had formerly been at a company in Milwaukee. I won't say which one. And she said, this is what happened to me. The vice president called me in the office and said, I thought you were a smart person. And she said, oh my God, this is going to be a terrible meeting, to herself. And he said, I'm locked in a battle with another VP. I had you test my idea. My idea marginally won, but that's not the result I'm looking for. You go back out. I don't care how you ask the questions, and you come back when my idea wins hands down over his. Now you can leave. So she did the research as directed, and then she found a new job. So these things do indeed happen. So let's switch to a book you mentioned that was instrumental in how you see the world, and that's called The Big Shift: Redefining Marketing in a Multicultural America. Exactly, by Dr. Jake Benefal. So can you tell me a key term from that book and its significance for you?
Sure. A key term would be cultural levers. Cultural levers of consumer behavior. That's the space where I've spent all my career. Consumer behavior, understanding the Latino market, the Latino consumer, the Latina consumer. For some of my clients, we had, you have personas and you have the name of the person. She's 30 years old. She's married with kids, and she lives in a single family home or an apartment or whatever. You come up with all these personas, of course, to speak to an audience of one. Most of my work is in creative groups, working with a creative director. Sometimes I'm the creative director in a group and I put together a team, but otherwise I'm a copywriter, and in English and Spanish, or Spanglish, believe it or not. I've done quite a few projects in Spanglish. And the quote, let me quote from page 42 of the book.
Sure.
Okay?
Yep.
The rise and growth of the bicultural US-born Latino will continue to pressure the marketing community to better discern and measure cultural differences within the Latino population, which a bidimensional cultural orientation scale can do quite effectively. And by the way, that's what Jake Benefal did. Given that the future Latino demographic is projected to be increasingly bicultural and bilingual, the US marketing community should be encouraged to place a greater effort on mastering the cultural levers of consumer behavior. And so that is, and like I said, this book is one of there are so many books about Hispanic marketing. This one, actually, it just came out, and I met Dr. Benefal, I met Jake this year. Great conversations, great presentation. He says basically what I have done for my own career. My name is Rico Latino. My tag, my handle is Rico Latino on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. And I actually put little ads that I put together that read, a translation is not Hispanic marketing. And the reverse, Hispanic marketing is not a translation. Sure, I do translations. I do original writing in English, in Spanish, in Spanglish. Sometimes when I work on poems or advertising or anything, very often I write in both languages. I write in whatever language is natural first, sometimes Spanish, sometimes English. Then I do my own quote unquote translation because it's a transcreation, a creative transfer. I say, okay, how would I say it in the other language? And I write it in the other language. And a lot of times, invariably, as I think of it, of the same topic in the other language, I adjust my original writing. And then these two keep moving dynamically. And at the end, I may say, okay, I have a final English version, a final Spanish version, but they are not parallel. They are not the same thing. Culturally, you have to say, right. So that is and then my own experience, he talks about the bilingual, bicultural. And that just a quick comment about my own identity, my own identification. I was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I lived there the first 20 years of my life. Then I lived in England, in Spain. In England is where I learned English as my fourth language. So my initial attempt at English was an attempt at British English.
Sure.
Now it's an attempt at American English and a Midwestern of all that. And I worked in Europe, in Brazil, in Mexico, now in the US. I spent most of my career in the US on and off with some breaks in Minnesota, also on the East Coast and the West Coast in Oregon. And my identity, people say, so what is your identity? There's a lot of talk about, people use the term Latinx, Latin, and then the word X, Latinx. Do you see yourself? No, well, most people don't. And the Hispanic, how about Hispanic? Or are you a hyphenated American, Mexican American, Colombian American, whatever? And a lot of people say, I'm not a hyphenated American. I'm an American. Many people say, I'm an American, and many people say, I'm a 200%er. And that is what Jake talks about. I'm 100% Latina, 100% American.
I like that. Yeah.
I'm a 200%er. Well, for me, my identity is not Argentine, even though that is correct because I was born there. It's not Latin American, even though I am Latin American. Yes, I was born in a Latin American country. I'm not a hyphenated American. My identity really is, and I'm an American Latino. American Latino. That's my identity, my label that I would choose if I have to, what is your nationality or identity? American Latino. America, this is the country, this is the place where I know how things run, a place where I know how to make a living and I raised a family and run successful companies. This is the place that I know how things work and that I feel comfortable operating in and living in. A lot of people say, oh, you lived in Spain, in England, in Brazil, in all these places. What is your favorite country? And I say, this one. That's why I'm here. This is my favorite country in the world, And of course, I would live in Spain. I would live in Brazil, although maybe not today. I would live in Italy. Io parlo italiano, ma non troppo.
Yes.
And I enjoy languages and cultures, and I enjoy traveling, and I enjoy working for an extended stint, a few months, a year, someplace else, in the US, outside of the US. But this is home. Where is home? Well, home. Some people say, so do you get back home often? And I say, well, I'm home. Now, I have a lot of homes. I still miss Spain. I miss Brazil. I miss Mexico. I miss Puerto Rico. I spent so much time there. If you add it up, a few years, all my time in Puerto Rico over the years. And so it's a beautiful world. And, some people use the word world citizen. Sure. I mean, I think that's a good thing to be. Doesn't mean that you diminish. I don't diminish Argentina by saying I don't see myself as an Argentine. I go to Argentina regularly and to other Latin American countries. I know I'm not from there. I can pass as a local. I can sound like a local, but I'm not. That's not my country. I see. I studied cultural anthropology. When I go to Argentina, I almost have my cultural anthropology lenses, to understand how things are shifting and the political situation, the economic situation.
Sure.
Anywhere in Latin America, I have pretty much like if you were to go back to Italy today or anytime you go back to Italy, you know you're not Italian. You can maybe pass for Italian. You can enjoy the culture, but you know that you are seeing, you're analyzing it from with a different lens. So,
well, in fact, when I was last back, I went swimming and it was early October, which is much too cold for the Italians. And one of them I heard muttering, and he said Tedesco, which meant he thought I was a German.
Tedesco,
Yes,
yeah, German,
yes,
right?
yes. So anyway, I want to thank you so much, Rico. I want to thank you for your wonderful contributions to the book. I want to thank you for your comments today. I want to thank you for a conversation we had before this taping, where you mentioned that too often in America, we have black and white thinking and we've left out brown. And I think that's so true. And on all those levels, I want to thank you. And this has been episode number 24 of Scrambled Eggs. And I'm your host, Dan Hill, and the author of Blah, 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 a snarky guide to office lingo. Thank you so much, Rico.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for having me.